I know it's on the month, so you have absolutely no excuse, all right?
WEFM, the new fresh sound.
WhatsApp us or call us at 457-9997. Activated Mornings on WEFM 99.9 is on now.
All right, so we are back with you for another segment of our Activated Mornings program here on WEFM. And this is a segment of the program that we hand over to Doc for him to provide us with his commentary. So, Doc, what are we talking about today?
I think we are at a time of Carnival, our national festival. And it is really interesting to me how the various people in St. Vincent contrast this event. Whether we're talking about persons who see Carnival as being non-Christian, whether we see the youth and how they portray it, and how we see more adult type individuals really enjoying themselves. And
You want to say more mature as an age?
More adult type individuals, yes, in age, but I want to be very careful about that. Now, over the past couple of days, we've seen a number of events. Yesterday, we had two important events. Carnival Escape, which is an event brought on almost every year by a group, I think MR14. They used to have a larger group, but now Keith Boye and others say they're down to about 3 members with some other members on standby. But they basically do the organizing. I suppose when you're bringing off an annual event, it's pretty much easy if you're bringing it off in a very similar way at the same venue and so forth. And it was important to know that this was the largest ever escape. Cars were parked on the runway and people bussed to the Balcom Estate and all around that area, the Balcom Estate, going up into New Villa, going back over to Rose Cottage and all in the side roads and so forth. There were cars. And I understand the event was quite successful. But the people behind it say that they wanted to promote adult, mature entertainment. And so they provide music, the similar type of music you might find elsewhere, but that the crowd that they're looking to attract is a more matured crowd. I didn't go to Escape, but I went to the Calypso semifinals. And there again was a much more matured crowd. I would say a preponderance of men. I would say about 60, 65, maybe 70% of the persons there being men versus women. Whereas from what I understand at Escape, it was the other way around. It was about 70% women and about 30% men. And I stand corrected in relation to that. But I saw a few young persons there, maybe attending with older individuals. They weren't on their own. They were like attending with old individuals. And when you saw the older individuals responding to the events on the stage and shaking and so forth, I observed the young persons not being so moved, not being so enlightened. When I dug into the people who were singing, let's say Zion I or Man Sick, and the crowd responds to them, people were understanding what they were saying and singing about. But I could imagine that maybe some visitors and maybe some young persons may not be attuned with the delicate lyrics of Calypso, you know, and that you know, it was probably something that they were not so familiar with. Now, on the other hand, there was a pastor at a recent graduation who wanted to talk about fear, and he brought out Problem Child's new song, Afraid Horn, you know, and Afraid Boot. And as he started talking, all the students knew what he was saying. As he started reading through the passages and so on, they were able to go along with him, you know. And it was quite amazing in that regard. But when you look also at the Soca Monarch, there are now some 20-something individuals who are going to be at the Soca Monarch and the Raga Soca, and even that event. But in contrast, this was a younger grouping. This was a younger crowd. And when you see a lot of the events that are taking place in rural Carnival, and so it's a lot of younger individuals. So there's a major contrast to what is considered to be adult entertainment. And there is also a contrast in relation to what some young persons may say. The summing of all this is that this may have been the case for decades and for a long time, but it's now more pronounced. The ultimate thing is that people seem to be enjoying themselves. It seems as if this carnival may have brought out the best in a lot of different genres, whether it is, you know, Soca Monarch and so forth, and that art form that has emerged, or in terms of more adult, mature entertainment that reflects on songs of the past or the lyrics of what is taking place today in Calypso. I think it's all good. And I want to say Carnival is alive and well, and I wish it the very, very best. I am going to continue to play my part and stay involved.
Okay. All right. All right, Dianna, any thoughts?
Well, I'm glad that you said you're going to play your part, you know, and continue to keep it going. That's great. It's good to know that you're going out to the event. Did you take any friends with you to the Calypso semis?
I met friends there. Mm-hmm. I didn't take a friend with me. No, I didn't have an escort.
I mean, you
asked me if I had a date.
You asked me if I went with friends. Somebody. I mean, your male friends that you know in your group, and you invite them.
I met a lot of the boys there, the male friends and so forth, of course, and so forth. And then there were female friends there too, of course. You know, I wanted to be very careful that listeners, we on radio, don't get an impression
that you went with somebody
she was
of the opposite sex.
She was asking
Did you go with somebody of the opposite sex?
No, I went alone.
All right, well, that's it.
No. But that one she asked me. She asked me.
Dianna wasn't inferring one thing.
I know.
You thought so.
No, I wanted to make sure that all the other persons, 9 out of 10 persons, would have thought just like what Dianna
that
was asking.
Didn't even cross my mind.
I know, but that
I'm the 1 out of 10.
You. I'm saying the fact that you brought it up means that there might be another listener who might think
that you bring it up.
I know, I'm correcting it to put it on the straight side that I went alone and I met friends, both male and female there. But I encouraged other people to go to support that particular art form, you know, because it's an art form that I do like, that I do love. And, you know, I want to see it continue to grow. I love the new venue. It was tighter than Victoria Park. And so I know when we go back for the finals, it'll be there. But, you know, I like some of these changes that have taken place. You know, Bacchanal Beach, you know, and all these kind of things. There's some new innovations. People are thinking. Them guys are thinking. You creatives are thinking about this and keeping our carnival alive.
Well, that's one of the positives of having a youth mixed with more mature. I don't know why Doc didn't just use the word more mature in his thing, but more mature persons, right? So that's what tends to happen. You get a proper. You have are able to execute things looking at things from different vantage points, right? To incorporate both groups of persons. So yeah. All right, so let me just touch on a few things that Doc mentioned. Now, the Carnival Escape. It's good to hear that they were, well, sounds like from what you're saying that they were very well attended. And for persons who may not know, that this is actually done as a fundraiser because there is an element of them giving back. And I think it's predominantly to school children.
Schools, yeah.
So whenever persons attend these events, I know sometimes persons are always like, well, I ain't going to an event that costs $300 or $400. I actually don't know how much Carnival Escape was this year, right? But it was close to 300.
Yeah.
Okay, so in this case, there was an element of where you can see where it is the proceeds of your funds would be going, right? Not just in terms of the setup, the food, etc. that was there, but it's also to give back to the public. So just point a small plug there for Carnival Escape. All right, now Doc made mention of a point there of some of these events that initially were designated as a quote unquote escape for more mature persons. And this is one of the challenges that many older folks, as in more mature folks, are facing now, where there are several initiatives or several events that started out initially for the more mature audience that now seems to be invaded by younger folks. And I think what has been happening is that persons who are looking to enjoy themselves with their age group or maybe just a generation above or whatever, they're now finding that the young persons are invading and they don't have that space to just be able to free up and party and enjoy themselves, right? I would always remember when I was younger, there was only one place that both young and old thoroughly enjoyed themselves collectively, and that was Iguana, right? I met my father there Friday night and I was like, ah. But, you know, it didn't feel so harsh because...
Did he ask you to dance?
No, we didn't. No.
He didn't.
No, he didn't.
He didn't say,
Yeah, he didn't.
No, you didn't say that.
But it was just weird because, I mean...
Well, I tell you something.
But I really did enjoy...
Can I give it? I know he was at the Calypso. She was asking me if I met her. Yes, I was in that group too with Roleza's father and so forth, who was at Carnival Calypso semi-finals. Yeah. You know what I mean? I just throw that in there.
Yes, but the point that I'm making is that there are very few events or activities that happen where old and young can be together and it feels like it's a vibe, as opposed to you not necessarily wanting to be with the younger crowd or the younger crowd not necessarily wanting to be with older folks. I think that many events are facing this problem at this time. Me personally, I couldn't understand where I know that if I was in college, an event is happening and it costs $300. I don't know where I get that kind of money from, right? But these young people are finding the money. Maybe their parents are maybe their parents are providing it, and this is why it is that they're able to attend. But I always have to question when I see some young folks. I know they ain't working anywhere, but they all up in a set of these events, right? So that's one thing.
Sometimes their source of funds is in effect too, is the older person is the source of funds.
Well, true. You know, sugar daddy season is on and in full effect. All right. So it could be one of that as well. Right. There's also another thing that I've noted with an observation that I've made with younger persons in a crowd as opposed to older folks. I've noticed a trend, and it kind of used to annoy me, where even at the launch of Carnival, a lot of people had their head downs in their phones. The younger folks had their head downs in their phones, right? A lot of them were just there. They're not fully engaged with whoever is on the stage. They are just down in the phones, or they're taking videos or pictures to be able to post and not living in the moment, not enjoying the moment. And that is something that I've noticed. There is a contrast, though, even at that same launch of Carnival, where I noticed that the older folks were there freeing up and enjoying themselves. Like the people who actually enjoy themselves were the older folks. And one of the things that I can recognize is that as you get older, you lose a bit of inhibitions, in that you're not concerned about who is watching you, right? If I can't whine, I'm still going to do it because I am there to enjoy myself. And I think maybe this is one of the things with getting older where you just don't care anymore. You don't care how people look at you. You don't care what people think of you. If you're going to an event to enjoy yourself, you're getting your full money's worth. And that is one of the contrasts that I see with older and younger persons. One of the things that I've also noticed, and I haven't really gone out, I went out recently, but again, before that, right? Is that a lot of the younger folks would just stand around and look pretty. And it used to annoy me so much. Because if you are coming to an event, I'm already dressed nicely, right? But I mean, if I'm dressing in a particular way, I need to be able to dress in a way so that I can actually dance. But there are some persons who are just there, just wanting to stand around and look pretty. And they actually kill the vibes of the event because they're not there to loosen up and to have fun. It's all for the gram, you know? So that is just one of the things that I've noted. And more power to everybody, all right? More power to everybody. All right, any final thoughts before we head on out?
Yes, well, you know, it does seem that when people are really dressed up and then a particular type of shoe or then a particular type of dress that is prone to some wardrobe malfunctions, if one is able to flex a muscle or two or a waist here and there, people may be restricted in that. I could see that, you know. But this is probably why at like weddings, the bride goes and takes off her gown and puts on something a little simpler so that they could party. Not everybody is able to go do that because some are
dress for the events. That's my whole thing. You know, it's carnival season, is big. One set of whining and carrying on and gyration. So dress for the event.
But it's like two, maybe three events in one, you know. And I'm talking about for other people. The bride goes and changes to come back, and the groom takes off his jacket and he's in something simpler. But other people may not necessarily be able to do that. But for the type of show, and you know, we are led by societal norms, and a few people will break those norms and lead us into new chapters that we didn't think was right. But things have changed over a period of time. I think Vincentians still love to party, and the way you're dressed and how you're dressed ain't gonna really restrict that. You're able to derobe a little bit, take off or slip into something else, and even go bare feet.
My thing is, don't watch face. You don't spend your money to be in the event. Enjoy yourself. Full joy yourself. Enjoy yourself, right? Don't watch face. And with that, we go ahead out.